Here we are.
I
Uh,
guess we're here. Are we here?
we are here. We are the transpositions, at least a couple of us.
There are
We
two of us
are,
here, but I'm in the fog,
yeah.
freezing and clear. So there you go.
Well, I'm on a little bit of a fog, but it's more of a mental thing right now.
Yeah. Well,
But we are absent in Ember tonight. We do have good news though, so we will have Ember, but Ember's not here. If you get my meaning. But
yeah.
as they say, the show.
Ember's on a hard assignment. It's like
Mhm. I wish I could give
she's
Ember a
she's
hug.
she's driving driving the trucks and
There's a couple
making the
places that she has to go to that is just like
yeah
I ache for her.
yeah.
But the show must go on, so we're still here.
And
I thought
Puggles is here, and Haley is here, and Anarchic
Fox is
Fox is
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey
there are people
everybody.
here aside from you and me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see everybody turning up. People rolling in like that fog. How long is that supposed to last for?
Oh golly, it's the weather. The weather here
In Maine.
every weekend, in all with one exception, every weekend since the beginning of April has been a deluge. God,
Just
what?
pouring, huh?
I got stuff
Which
to do. The weeks are fine. The weekend, hey, it's time to rain. It's just
that's so
awful.
so I'm in El Paso and it's unseasonably dry here. I don't know if you ever like look at the AQI or anything, like the air quality in index or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
for the US, but El Paso is always that
yeah.
red dot down there in West Texas. It's if there's any place that's red on the map, it's going to be El Paso
Are
first.
you
But it's been
are
so
you are
so
you
much worse.
telling are you
Oh, as I
are
say,
you
it's
telling me it's not safe to breathe in El Paso?
right. We've had lots of people getting hospitalized and stuff around here. It's been a dust bowl,
That ain't
really. It's
good.
been every couple of days, huge clouds of dust just blow through, sandblast everything, wreck our pool,
Really?
uh, and just it's covers everything. You can't breathe outside. You want to wear a mask. It's nasty, but hopefully it's over now. They say that they usually don't have these kind of dust storms into this late into the summer, but there's been no rain, which even the desert gets rain in the spring.
Woody yeah.
Yeah,
Woody Guthrie had a song about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
about the dust bowl.
Yeah. So long, it's been good to know ya. So long, been good to know ya. So long, it's been good to know ya. This dusty old dust bowl is taking my home, and I got to be drifting along. And feels like the 30s to me. How about you, Bree?
Yeah, well, they're right around the corner. Yeah. Anyway, we do have some adjacent news tonight. We actually have some breaking news. It's not really news, but she makes it news because she has to go full drama about everything. Uh, back in the headlines, the one and only Nancy fucking Mace.
Yes, sir.
So transgender activist charged with threatening the life of a South Carolina South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. A transgender activist has
Oh,
been charged with
God.
threatening the life of U.S. Rep. Nancy Mace. Samuel Theodore Kane of Greenville is in custody at the Greenville County Detention Center, charged with threatening the life of a public official. A bond hearing is scheduled for Friday. Uh, This is, remember when someone shook her hand and she said she like wore a arm
And
brace?
yeah, and she was in a cast.
Yeah.
What? Like, huh?
Kane, 19, posted on social media he planned to assassinate Mace, who has increased anti-transgender rhetoric in recent months as she considered a run for governor's office in the 2026 election. Republican representatives of the lower country congressional district that includes Charleston.
Yeah. All right. So just a little time out here, Bree. I
Mhm.
think that it's important to say that if you're an activist, it's a good idea not to threaten the lives of the people you're opposing. Your rhetoric can go, you need to be very careful. Um,
Yeah, according to the warrant, on or about April 26th, Kane, who is also known as Roxy Wolf, posted on social media threatening an assassination. I'm going to assassinate Representative Mace with a gun, and I'm being 100%
See,
dead ass.
that's that's the thing you don't want to post. You don't want to
Right.
post that. Okay.
The
So,
post said, according
pro tip.
to let me close the quote so people don't think I'm saying it, Steph. Just hold on just a second.
Yeah, all
Because
right.
as I said the line and then you chopped in like I was saying, I need to be able to say the post said.
No, I
Please.
wasn't saying. No, I was commenting on what this individual did.
Yeah,
It's like you do that is
I
not
know,
a
but
good
that leaves it open to be
idea.
clipped out of context.
I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get you. We're all right. So everybody, Bree and I are urging you to be careful of not only what you say in the in the in commenting on news articles, but what you say on on the content of the news articles, but what you say in the commenting on the news articles, because somebody's gonna get you. Kind
Mm-hmm.
of sucks.
It's this is my lesson here. Yes, to be careful how
Yeah,
I word things. So
yeah.
in the press release, SLED redacted the public official's name who was threatened because it is standard procedure to redact the name of the victim. According to SLED, Kane admitted to federal law enforcement to writing and posting the threat. The trans movement is fueling violence, Mace said in a statement. Capitol Police and SLED moved fast on the death threat they should. No one should face murder threats for calling out radical gender ideology. This isn't about me. It's an attack on free speech, rule of law, and anyone brave enough to speak the truth about biology. Girl, calm down. She acts like she's the first politician to get death threats. Um, and people threaten anybody and everybody with who is associated with trans people. I've had death threats. I have screenshots of death threats just for doing this show, and we how many people are watching right now? Do we even have a dozen people watching? We have 11 people watching right now live, and I get
Yeah.
death threats just being like on this tiny show, being in the public light. So imagine how many death threats someone like Sarah McBride gets daily, right? And then Nancy Mace,
Well,
the
and then she has
drum,
to deal with that bitch Nancy Mace in Congress.
right?
You know,
So
and
it's
she's a
just
co-worker. Hey, it's like you can't, if you're a member of Congress, you can't actually call up HR and say, hey, you have to you have to rely on the rules of the House for
all right. This next one is gonna. This next one puts me in company of all my friends in the UK living down here in Texas, as I am at the time. Um, but the Texas House votes to strictly define man and woman, excluding trans people from the state records. If it becomes law, the bill would define sex based on reproductive organs and require state documents and policies to comply with that framework. This is the fraud stuff that they were talking about doing, like saying, "Oh, if you're trans, you're committing fraud." So here in the Lone Star State, now I can leave Texas whenever I want. I'm not tethered here. I came down here to fight. I came down here because El Paso, I had the opportunity, and I'll have to move a couple different places, and El Paso was on the ticket.
Until the residency certificates become the law of the land. If you're if you were in Texas at the time of the inauguration of Saint Donald of Trump, you must stay in Texas.
Yeah, I won't be able to escape Texas. I have an Illinois ID, so because that my stay down here has always been
invalid.
Yeah, because it says, well, they don't know. Yeah, deal with it. I don't know what to do. The state of Illinois is going to recognize my gender. I'm sorry, Texas.
Honestly, I think people need to understand that these motherfuckers are going to do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want to, unless somebody stops them.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way it is. I just want
to make it clear that I'm not a Texas citizen. Like, I'm not I'm a temporary resident of Texas.
So you're Texas adjacent.
Yes, but I spend a lot of time in the state of New Mexico, and if I need to, I'll go to Mexico too, because I have my birth certificate and everything I need to go to Mexico and be just fine. Yeah, and anyway, so they say more than 300 activists and supporters marched from Bexar County Courthouse to Crockett Park in March for Us at the 3rd annual celebration of Transgender Day of Visibility on March 29th, 2025 in San Antonio. Texas House votes to strictly define man and woman, excluding trans people from state records, was first published by the Texas Tribune, a nonprofit, nonpartisan media organization that informs Texans and engages with them about the public policy, politics, government, and statewide issues. All right, so dozens of trans people and their allies gathered outdoors the Capitol Rotund Friday, chanting at the top of their lungs, "They will not erase us." The next day, the Texas House of Representatives preliminary passed a bill that aims to do just that. This is House bill.
Yeah, they said, "Just watch."
Yeah, House bill. Keep your eye on this one. This should go in the record here. We should. I think Aaron Reed catalogs these pretty good, but yeah, House Bill 229 or 229 strictly defines men and women based on their reproductive organs that they were born with, which totally erases intersex people. But I digress. The order state records to reflect this binary. The bill titled the Women's Bill of Rights lays out that biological truth for anybody who is confused, said author Representative Ellen Troxclair, an Austin Republican. I think that we're probably going to hear more from her as we move into 2025. A new face for our rogue gallery, if you will. So the bill passed on second reading 86-36 after at a time tense debate, and is expected to finally be approved this week before going to the Senate, which has already passed several bills with similar focus. Surrounded by a cadre of Republican women, Troxclair said the goal of the bill was to ensure women's rights aren't eroded by activists as more people come out as trans and non binary. Democrats argued against the bill for almost 3 hours, and Representative Jessica Gonzalez, Democrat from Dallas, saying it's harmful, it's dangerous, and it's really freaking insulting. It
Can
is.
you can you pause for a second?
Yeah, I got it.
Go back
Which,
like 2 sentences and
uh,
read two
uh,
sentences back or so.
okay, so Democrats argued against the bill for almost 3 hours with Representative Jessica Gonzalez, Democrat from Dallas, saying it's harmful, it's
Yeah.
dangerous, and it's really freaking insulting.
I cannot.
What-
That's not.
Yeah, and keep going.
Okay. If the bill becomes law, more than 120,000 trans Texans
Yeah.
would be forced to be defined in state records by the sex they were assigned at birth rather than their gender identity or the gender they identify as, even if they've already legally changed their birth certificate and driver's license.
Right.
Saturday's debate rehashed a deep fracture over sex and gender that has animated the Texas legislature and much of the country for the last 5 sessions. In previous years, legislators focused on tangible questions of bathroom access, youth sports, and gender affirming care for minors. This year,
Wait, the tangible aspects, right? So now, like, the tangible aspects which were only tangible in that they were phantasms created in the right-wing mind that men were invading women's spaces. That this is the way lies become truths.
Well,
none of this is real. That the whole thing rests on the assumption that trans people do not exist.
Well, this next line here is kind of it kind of stabs at the heart of this.
Right.
This year, the proposals that have gained the most traction reflect a more fundamental question: what is a woman? So, if you were wondering if
nobody gives a shit about what is a man.
Well,
I'm sorry, but I am tired of the fucking debate. We focus on it here. We have to, because this is the way the media portrays this stuff. But nobody focuses on the other side. It's all about emasculation. That's the whole thing.
I just hate the idea that Matt Walsh is influencing our political climate to that degree. That
Matt Walsh is doing it, and so is Jordan Peterson. It's like, oh my goodness, that all you men are being emasculated by all these militant women, and the even bigger threat are the men who abandon their manhood to be women. It's a fucking insane. It's a fucking insane trope. That the mainstream media and culture and brilliant people have convinced a whole number of people that we have an ideology. We who are trans, whether we be trans women or trans men, we who are trans have an ideology, and they don't. They do. Their ideology is there are men and there are women and there is no in between.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
you know, I am tired of fucking nitpicking with every fucking story because it's all the same goddamn theme. It's the same theme over and over and over again. Trans people cannot exist because the gender construct is solid and cannot be changed. So, you know, we operate here within that view, but we have to because it's garbage, and I'm just putting it out there. I'm tired of this fucking argument. I'm fucking 71 years old and I'm tired of this argument. I'm tired of being attacked on, you know, on people telling me I have a fucking ideology when they are blowing it up my butthole.
it's
Sick of
a
it.
language problem. It's not a ideology. It's that they don't want to line up with the language. They want to line the language up to meet their standards and change the
No,
way
they
we
want
use
to
words.
they want to eliminate us. That's the problem. It's not it's beyond that. You know, they're using language to eliminate us as people.
Right. Well, and then they're using like that HHS report that we just went up in the last 2 weeks covering to justify it.
Yeah.
All right. So to continue, for conservative lawmakers, the answer is simple. The best defined is by reproductive organs. For trans people and their allies, the answer is simple. It is best left to an individual's assertion of their gender identity. I don't like the framing of that. Their assertion of their gender identity. It's just their gender identity. It's not they're asserting that they have a gender identity. Everybody has a gender identity. It's super weird to say that only trans people are not allowed to
exactly
define themselves by it. Stop being weird. Only one of those groups controls the Texas Capitol. We're a state that believes in truth, and we're a state that honors the hard-won achievements of women. The women who fought for the right to vote, to compete in sports, and to be safe in public spaces, to be treated equally under the law, Troxclair said on the floor. But we can no longer define what a woman is. But if we can no longer define what a woman is, we cannot defend what women have won. We cannot protect what
tired of this fucking rhetoric.
It's
such garbage. From Houston Public Media. I'm sorry. Listen, folks in the chat, everybody who's watching this program, I am here tonight to tell you I am fucking sick and tired of all of this discourse. Every fucking iota of it. It sucks.
I just want to clarify.
Everyone should understand. All of this that we are reporting it as calmly as we fucking can. But Stephanie has lost her goddamn patience with the goddamn media and the fucking and the whole narrative that trans people have an agenda, that trans people have an ideology, that trans people are a threat. In every fucking story I have ever fucking read about me has been demonizing, diminishing, and garbage.
So
sorry, Bree, stop. Wait a second. I'm gonna fucking rant here. I am tired of it. When I live my life as a decent human being and as a caring human being, and I live my life in relation to the people that I have to relate to. I am not an ideologue. I am not a valiant promoter of the trans agenda. I am just simply Stephanie, and I am tired and sick and glad to just live my life. For those of you who are watching, that's why we are here and why we are trying to tell you. We are trying to say the garbage you see in the media, the stuff we present here, is garbage from start to fucking finish. Now I'm done.
I just wanted to clarify that what the Congresswoman, I think it was, what Troxclair is saying here about women winning the right. No, they didn't win them. They got what was rightfully theirs that was being withheld returned to them or given to them or given back to them because this wasn't some achievement that women that women all of a sudden were able to have. It was something that they should have had all along, right? And it doesn't matter if they're trans or cis or it doesn't make a difference. All women should have had equal rights and been considered equal in society. And the fact that they weren't is fucking sad. But that's something that is independent from the trans rights issue, right? All women were denied access to certain facets of society because of the way they were born, and that did that did include trans people all throughout history, whether this congresswoman wants to acknowledge that or not. Yeah, we've always been a small, tiny percent of the population, but we've always been here. All right, I'll continue on. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to read this whole thing. I did want to kind of move on to the military stuff. If y'all are okay with that.
Before we do, we got to say hi to Carly. Carly, yeah, come back.
Carly showed up. I don't know if she could, if she was quite ready or not to interact.
Yeah, she's here. She's ready.
Hey, Carly.
Go, Carly.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Awesome.
Yeah, doing all right. Covering nonsense.
Well, that's good, and it must be that kind of night because Stephanie, you're going at it.
Mm-hmm. I am going at it because I'm fucking sick of this bullshit. I am sick of this bullshit. I'm telling you, I'm sick of the bullshit.
Well,
I'm sick of I'm sick of the phoniness. I mean, that's like Jesus. I'm going back to Catcher in the Rye. Stop pretending what you're really saying. And just stop it. Go, Carly. Go, Carly. You're on.
Well, actually, I could hear you rant all day, but right now I've got Transposition Sports cooking in the oven tonight, and it's gonna run a little bit different. It's gonna be a little bit more rant than the sports show tonight because we're gonna look at a few things. Obviously, in some news this week, Colorado has trans rights protections up and down the spectrum, but Colorado Springs has decided trans kids can't play sports. We're gonna have that. Also, the grassroots protest against the Football Association in England, Scotland's bans on transgender women and women's soccer. We're going to have some more on that. They actually went on the march to the FA offices. They went on the march to Wembley Stadium, and thousands of people are getting in it. This is going to get interesting. That all shakes out. And you probably heard Charles Barkley. Well, the truth has come out. He's really not as LGBTQ friendly as we thought the NBA legend was. We're gonna have that and more in sports, and also a rant on trans women or women. So why do people call us men all the time just because we want to play a sport? That and more to come. Transposition Sports coming up a little bit later on.
All right. Okay. I just when I thought I was about to escape from Texas and move on to this military thing, I just wanted to clarify that bill we just looked at is not to be confused with this more heinous bill here, where it's going to make Texas bill would make identifying as transgender a felony punishable by jail in the state of Texas. This is a different bill. That's not likely to pass, but it kind of hinges on this other one. So they come in groups like this. They throw a whole lot of stuff at the wall. They throw something outrageous at the wall like this, and then they throw something less outrageous like what we just looked at, and then it looks more conservative by proxy, right? My saying, oh, this may be bad, but it's not as bad as this. So if we give them this, then maybe they won't want that kind of approach to it. But this is what is this House bill? I had it pulled up. Where was it? Here we go. Oh, that's that brought money guy. Hold on. Where was that? I swear I just had the link pulled up a second ago. Okay, yeah. So far the bill has no other co-sponsors. Here's the bill. It's House Bill 3817, which is different than what we were just looking at. Just to clarify, House Bill 38. This is House Bill 3817. It's going to be pretty heinous. But moving on to news from the Pentagon, right? News from the Pentagon. We have the Pentagon will comb through medical records to find and eject trans troops. Isn't that wonderful? Land of the free. They're going to go through your medical records. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has instructed the Pentagon to kick out all trans service members by June 6th, following the Supreme Court's May 6th order to allow Donald Trump's trans troops ban to go into effect while litigation continues to play out. According to a directive issued by Hegseth on May 8th, active duty trans service members who have been diagnosed or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria must identify themselves for voluntary separation from the U.S. Armed Forces by June 6th, while members of the reserve forces have until July 7th to do so. After the deadline passes, Hegseth's memo states that the military will initially initiate involuntary separation processes. According to NBC News, the Defense Department will then begin going through troops' medical records to identify trans service members who haven't identified themselves. Meanwhile, anyone who has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria will no longer be able to allowed to enlist in the military, as them previously reported, because the ban is worded to exclude anyone who exhibits symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria. Trump's trans troop ban could affect trans people who have never medically or socially transitioned, and even people who simply believed to be trans, or people who thought they were trans and weren't. So this affects the detransitioners that everybody worries about so much too. Let's keep that in mind, because the poor detransitioners, but this would affect them too, because they'd have that same diagnosis, right? And if you had a diagnosis of gender dysphoria does not is not exclusive to trans people. As far as I know, you can have gender dysphoria, like a man uh, growing breast, going through a cis man growing breast when he goes through puberty and getting like gynomastia, right? That's uh, that's the same category of characteristic, right? That's dysphoria over the way your body is developing, and you can get treated for that based on that, right? That this is going to make your life harder. This is going to affect your psychology, right? But how are they going to parse this? I guess they're going to do the Texas genital check. Okay, where were we? In December of 2024, the Defense Department said that there were 4,240 trans troops diagnosed with gender dysphoria on active duty out of 2 million active duty National Guard and Reserve service members, per The Guardian. However, the department acknowledged at the time that the number might be higher. Roughly 1,000 troops have already self-identified as trans. The 19th previously reported that the U.S. military is the largest employer in the country. Meanwhile, in 2023, National LGBTQ Task Force study found that trans people are twice as likely to serve in the military as their cisgender peers. Twice as likely. Keep that in mind. Speaking to KCUR, Major Kara Cochran, a trans service member who has been in the military for 17 years, said that she fell just a year short of the 18 to 20 year service requirement trans troops are now required to meet in order to apply for early retirement. That sucks. It's been really hard to do the job and stay strong every day as policies and orders are being put out to purge us from the U.S. military, Cochran added. There is no argument other than discrediting transgender as human beings is saying we do not exist. Ray Timberlake, a trans service member who has been in the Navy for 17 years, pointed out to The Guardian that if trans troops don't begin the military's voluntary separation process, they have no guarantee to access your pension or severance or an honorable discharge. This is not voluntary, Timberlake continued. This is a decision that folks are coming to under duress. These are thousands of transgender troops that would be serving if the conditions were not created to force them into making a decision for their own well-being or the well-being of their family long term. Although the Supreme Court order has allowed Trump's trans military ban to go into effect, 3 legal cases against the ban remain ongoing. The Washington State District Court and the Washington, D.C. District Judge both issued previous injunctions against the ban. Although those rulings have both been stayed, in a joint statement released Tuesday, May 6th, Lambda Legal, a human rights campaign foundation, 2 of the groups representing plaintiffs challenging the ban, called the Supreme Court order a devastating blow. By allowing this discriminatory ban to take effect while our challenge continues, the court has temporarily sanctioned a policy that has nothing to do with military readiness and everything to do with prejudice, the organization wrote. We remain steadfast in our belief that the ban violates constitutional guarantees of equal protection will ultimately be struck down. All right, so that's where we are. That's where we are in the military bans, ladies.
Can I make a comment here?
Yeah, pop in. I'm done reading. Go ahead.
Great. I think that this is an indication of the cowardice of the United States Supreme Court in this time, under the leadership of John Roberts, who will go down in history, mark my words, as the worst Chief Justice of the Supreme Court since Roger B. Taney, who was presiding over the infamous Dred Scott decision. What the Supreme Court did in not, sustaining injunctions from several circuit courts is, let's just hear the case through. They just abandoned any view towards fundamental civil rights. That's like, well, okay, we'll just let the case proceed. And eventually, one of these cases will come to us. They didn't make a decision on the merits. They just basically said procedurally, the ban can go into effect, while also at the same time, the pleadings can continue. They didn't say that trans people can't serve in the military. They said the ban can go into effect. They didn't make a decision as to whether the ban was constitutional or not, because they're going to do that later. And that's an abandonment. That is an abandonment of a fundamental precept of American jurisprudence. And Jesus, if there are three co-equal branches of government, one of them just laid down and got rogered by the other. And the reason they did was because a majority of the justices would prefer not to be rogered by a trans person, apparently. It is just, and it's sick, and it's certainly in this instance and in many others, the Supremes are screwing the pooch, I think, and the fact that people like me are being used as a thing to convince good praying Catholics to let fascism come to America. It just really fucking blows my mind. Anyway, y'all do you.
Oh. All right. Well, I mean, where do we go from here?
I don't know.
All right. I could use some good.
Good thing. Let's do it.
That, and then I'll be back with another story later in the show, but pending time, of course. But yeah, let's do some good news.
So let's talk about trans joy today. So earlier today, I was getting ready, putting on the clothes for the day, etc. And I started thinking about all the bad things that are happening to trans people, in today's world. And I started getting down on myself. I'm sitting there thinking why did I do this? Why did I put myself in this situation? And I look in the mirror, and that's why. this alone, being able to look in the mirror every day and see this face staring back at me and knowing that is me, like this body is my body. And that alone, that joy that I feel from finally being me, can battle any hate in this world. And just knowing where I came from, the sad, depressed person I was. And now I am so grateful for every second of every day. I just want every trans person today to take that time to realize how beautiful it is and how much joy there is in being you.
Good news, everyone! Tonight, a life saved, celebrations in surprising states, a mayor in the making, and more. Good news starts right now. In a world gone crazy, it's nice to see people still care we exist. Celebrate that trans people are here, in fact. In Michigan, there's a whole festival about it. From the Detroit Free Press. Stand with Trans, a Southeast Michigan organization established to help transgender young people with counseling and support, is to celebrate its 10th anniversary on May 17th, a milestone its leader, Roz Keith, says is especially important to commemorate, considering the angst and upset members of the transgender community are experiencing as the result of President Donald Trump's anti-trans executive orders. Stand with Trans facilitates mental health counseling for transgender young people throughout Michigan, offers virtual and in-person support groups for them and their families, and acts as a national clearinghouse for information on trans issues. Roz, who serves as the group's executive director, founded Stand with Trans because she and her family were unable to find resources when her son came out as transgender at age 13. The Detroit Free Press interviewed Keith ahead of Stand with Trans's first ever gala, scheduled to be held at the Henry Ford Health Pistons Performance Center in Detroit. The group planned a 5-year celebration but scrapped it due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Quote, "We knew we couldn't let a decade go by without celebrating in some big way," Keith said. The event, called Love Transcends, 10 Years of Trans Empowerment, is sold out. Quote, "We couldn't have known what was going to happen when we started planning, but especially given what's going on, there's so much upset and anxiety that this is just such a great way to celebrate the joy and celebrate trans identities. And also, 10 years is a big deal. There are small nonprofits that don't make it to 10 years, and we are specifically focused on this marginalized community. And there's been so much over the years. Just the battles, whether it's about the bathroom or using the right pronouns for a child in school, rights, access to gender-affirming care. There are so many potential complications and roadblocks and just a lot of barriers to access for the community. So the fact that Stand with Trans is here 10 years later, we've grown, we are providing resources, we are helping thousands and thousands of people. The work is really life-saving. People all over the country can contact us and say, "I'm looking for a therapist," or "I need to know how to get my name changed," or "what's going on with passports right now." It's really, really scary. We know that executive orders don't equal law, but nonetheless, it's scary and people are worried that their gender-affirming care access is going to be taken away. That they're not going to be able to get their life-saving hormones, that they're not going to be able to access legal documents that reflect who they are. I mean, could you imagine if you're asked for your ID and the picture and name don't have anything to do with who you are? I keep saying we're living in dystopian times, but people are really frightened. I have to work on keeping up morale among my staff. Most of the staff are part of the community. they're struggling just like everybody else. On gala sponsorship in the current climate, she said, quote, "We're getting a lot of no's from corporate partners, and we're getting smaller contributions from corporate partners, if we're getting anything. There are still some who are right there with us, but we're getting a lot of corporate speak about how priorities have shifted. Sponsorship is definitely off from what I had hoped. The last event we had was before the election in November. Things were off a bit, but not in the way they are now. We're probably about 20% off from what I projected. But on inquiries, we're getting more. I think the first couple of weeks after the inauguration, our website visits went up by 150%. People are desperate for information and they're desperate for help." When asked if she believes things will change for the better, she said, quote, "I have to believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. But I think it's going to take a lot of loud voices. A lot of the rallies, the work that the ACLU is doing, and Lambda Legal and Equality Michigan, and all of the equality federations across the country, and really smart Supreme Court justices who, as we know, we have a conservative majority, but they also are representing the law and the Constitution. And so, if nothing else, we need to hang on to that lifeline, that we do have a Constitution in place. So, fingers crossed, it's going to be a bumpy ride for a few years, but I think we're going to get out of this." In the meantime, Stand with Trans is just one of hundreds of organizations across the United States dedicated to helping trans people in general who have upped their efforts in these extraordinary, perhaps unprecedented times. And while the necessity for that is supremely disheartening, the fact that there are people like Roz who are willing and able to step up and meet that need is inspiring. We often hear that gender-affirming care saves lives, and that's true. For some of us, it puts an end to a lifetime of intense suffering. For others, it opens up the ability to experience a joy we could never have dreamed was possible and to really live for the first time. But for some, it's simply true. From LGBTQ Nation, Jennifer Trifska, an autistic transgender woman, may never have found out about her cancer if she hadn't been receiving gender-affirming care. Her story is a reminder about how gender-affirming care is, in fact, life-saving care, especially at a time when the president seeks to end access to such care. She had always experienced fatigue, random digestive issues, and other symptoms that her primary care doctor had dismissed. During her high school years, before beginning medical transition, she visited a doctor for anal bleeding. The doctor assumed she was having anal sex, though she was still a virgin. The doctor's dismissal made her uncomfortable discussing her symptoms with other doctors, something that delayed the diagnosis of the actual problem. Then, in October 2017, her endocrinologist, who regularly checks her iron levels as part of her ongoing hormone replacement therapy, noted that her iron levels had dropped to an alarmingly low level. Jennifer, who was 23 years old at the time, scheduled a colonoscopy, and the technicians found a tumor blocking part of her descending colon. She scheduled a surgery soon after, and the doctors removed nearly 8 inches of colon and 25 lymph nodes, 2 of which tested positive for cancer. Her cancer predated her transition. Her transition did not cause her cancer, she told LGBTQ Nation. She also didn't have the usual genetic markers that indicate a familial predisposition to getting cancer, making its source a mystery. She then underwent chemotherapy in early 2018, and by September, all traces of the cancer had vanished. However, in February 2020, when she was getting facial feminization surgery, she awoke from the procedure unable to see out of her left eye. It turned out she had suffered a rare stroke that permanently damaged her retina. A subsequent scan revealed that she had nodules in her lungs that had tested positive for stage 4 cancer. 85% of people with her diagnosis die within 5 years. In 2021, she underwent immunotherapy, and by autumn of that year, she had 2 surgeries to remove the nodules. She then underwent more chemotherapy treatment until its conclusion in January of 2022. During her treatments, she gained a greater understanding of her condition thanks to Colontown, an online community of more than 100 secret support groups for colorectal cancer patients, survivors, and care partners. Now, at age 31, Jennifer has been in remission for over 3 years. Quote, I think a lot about how close I came to not knowing. If my endocrinologist hadn't been checking my iron as part of my HRT, my cancer could have gone undiagnosed for much longer. And the longer colon cancer goes untreated, the worse the odds get. Gender-affirming care quite literally saved my life, she wrote. Cheeky Charity points out that 10% of colorectal cancer cases are diagnosed in people under 50. GSM people are also more likely to face challenges while accessing preventative care, including fewer affirming healthcare providers, potential stigma, and limited health resources, the organization wrote. Quote, creating safe, inclusive spaces in healthcare and offering culturally sensitive information are vital to supporting this community's health, the group's website states. Providing accessible GSM-affirming resources on this and other cancers can help increase early detection for everyone. We're often told that anti-trans sentiment has reached a fever pitch in the United States, but the reality of daily life for trans people often tells a different story. For example, who could imagine that a small Pennsylvania community might be on the verge of electing a trans woman as mayor? And yet, from the Philadelphia Inquirer, when Erica Dusso goes door to door in Downingtown asking her neighbors to make her the first out transgender person to be elected mayor in Pennsylvania, her identity rarely comes up. Instead, she said, her potential constituents talk to her about traffic problems and public safety. A member of the Chester County Democratic Party's executive committee and board member on several local and statewide LGBTQ advocacy groups, Dusso said she chose to run for mayor to serve her community and maintain its good neighbor spirit. But her campaign is historic, and as President Donald Trump's administration pursues policies that target transgender and non-binary Americans, Dusso knows her candidacy carries a strain of resistance. Quote, Trump's rhetoric, the executive orders overall, have made it harder for people like me to just live our lives. But I refuse to let that fear define this campaign, Dusso said. Some of the best pushback is just being visible. Dusso became politically active when Senator Bernie Sanders ran for president in 2016 on a platform of promising Medicare for all. She works in management at a pharmaceutical company and emphasizes her ability to build consensus and cut costs. If Dusso prevails in a competitive Democratic primary on May 20th and defeats a GOP opponent in November, she would become the first transgender person elected to mayor in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, according to the Victory Fund, which works to elect GSM individuals to public office. Dusso doesn't have a guaranteed path to victory. Her primary opponent, Barry Cassidy, gained respect from many in the borough's business community, leading the community's Main Street program and advocating on flooding issues. But Dusso earned key endorsements from the local Democratic Party and outgoing mayor. Kristen Cahoon, a Downingtown committee person who voted to endorse Dusso, said Dusso had a strong understanding of what it would take to be mayor and had been preparing for years. Quote, I think you get into politics because of your heart, but to be a good, strong political leader, you need to treat the work like a business, and Erica does that, she said. LGBTQ rights advocates in the community say Dusso's candidacy marks a major step forward in representation, offering an example to gender nonconforming youth and helping to normalize the existence of transgender individuals in the general public. Quote, I don't really have enough words to state how impactful that would be for the LGBTQ plus community, and especially transgender and non-binary youth, said Carrie Stair, president of the LGBTQ Equality Alliance of Chester County, which plans the county's annual Pride festivities. As of May 2024, there were fewer than 50 out transgender elected officials across the United States and just 3 in Pennsylvania, all at the local level, according to the Victory Fund's research arm, the Victory Institute. Stair said Dusso's campaign lends essential visibility to transgender and other gender nonconforming Americans, a small but growing subset of the LGBTQ population whose identities have been belittled and vilified by political forces on the right. Since Trump took office in January, his administration has sought to limit gender-affirming care for transgender youth and eliminated legal acknowledgement of non-binary Americans, targeted transgender members of the U.S. military, and stripped funding from schools that allow transgender girls and women to participate in the sports aligning with our gender identity. Often, trans youth are the individuals taking the brunt of political attacks as executive orders target specifically treatment of transgender children and teens. Sean Williams, vice president of the LGBTQ Equality Alliance in Chester County, said that for some of these youths who can't vote and are dependent on their parents, quote, visibility is all you can really have. Dusso, who has been out for well over a decade, said she hopes that through her campaign, she can serve as a role model to those youth to see a transgender person leading their own or a neighboring local community. To see a strong trans woman leading a community, she said, will send a strong message to trans kids about their opportunities. Quote, I didn't have many role models growing up because no one looked like me. No one had my experience, she said. If a young person in Downingtown sees me and thinks, I can be myself and still be a professional, still have a good job, still have all this education, that means everything. Ultimately, Dusso said, her campaign isn't about being transgender. It's about being a good neighbor and leading the community she calls home. Her experience as a transgender woman, she said, will help her do a better job of ensuring city systems help everyone, especially those who may fall through the cracks. Quote, I want to be known as a good mayor. I want to be known as a good person. I want to be known as a person who gets things done, not just a trans one, not just a visible one, she said. In an interview, her opponent compared transgender identities to individuals who claim to be a race they are not. Phil DeGo, the current mayor, endorsed Dusso, saying her passion working on political campaigns and for causes she cares about would translate well to work in Downingtown. Quote, she's somebody to be reckoned with. Florida, of all places, just bashed back bigotry entirely in this year's legislative session. How did this happen, and what could it mean? From GoMag. In this political climate where LGBTQ+ rights often feel like they're under siege, Florida just delivered a surprising and hard-fought win for our community. In a stunning turn during the 2025 legislative session on Friday, not a single one of the proposed anti-LGBTQ+ bills made it into law. Florida has made national headlines over the last few years for many reasons, one major one being the Don't Say Gay or Trans law, so this outcome is very unexpected. It's a testament to the power of persistence, community organizing, and collective resistance. Equality Florida, the state's leading LGBTQ+ advocacy group, quickly recognized the significance. Quote, "Not a single bill passed," said Executive Director Nadine Smith, whose tireless leadership helped galvanize opposition to over a dozen pieces of legislation targeting the queer and trans community of Florida. It's not an overstatement to call this a landmark moment. After years of regressive policy wins, May 2025 marks a shift in momentum. The proposed legislation included a pride flag ban, HB 75/SB 100, that would have prohibited government institutions, including schools, from displaying flags deemed political, a thinly veiled attempt to erase queer visibility. It should be noted, the display of the American flag is itself a political demonstration. Oops. Another bill, nicknamed Don't Say Gay or Trans at Work, HB 1495/SB 440, sought to censor any workplace discussion of LGBTQ+ issues and essentially allow the harassment of trans employees. Another bill, HB 1571/SB 420, targeted local governments attempting to strip cities and counties of their ability to recognize or protect LGBTQ+ people at all. And HB 731/SB 1710 aimed to gut DEI programs in state agencies by banning the use of state funds for any diversity-related initiatives. All these bills and more were stopped in their tracks, and that isn't just a political win. It's proof that sustained pressure, organized advocacy, and refusing to back down can make a difference, even in the unlikeliest places. All these bills were an overt attempt to make LGBTQ+ Floridians feel less visible, less valid, and less safe. And all these bills faced heavy opposition from advocacy groups, business leaders, and citizens who showed up to voice their dissent. Public pressure clearly worked. These defeats are not just legislative wins, they're reminders that showing up matters. Of course, it would be naive to treat this moment as the finish line. Florida still has several harmful laws in effect, the main one being the Facility Requirements Based on Sex Act, which mandates bathroom use based on sex assigned at birth. Still, what is most worthy of celebration is the breath of fresh air progress in a state where the LGBTQ+ community was feeling less and less welcome. It's also a reminder that Florida is not a monolith. For all the national press painting it as a lost cause, there are fierce advocates on the ground. Queer youth, elders, parents, teachers, healthcare providers, and everyday citizens who are standing their ground and refusing to be erased. There's something incredibly heartening about seeing the backlash actually work in our favor. The very extremity of these proposals galvanized enough not again style opposition to stop them. Maybe we're entering a new chapter of Florida politics where LGBTQ+ people are not just fighting to defend our rights, but beginning to win. It didn't come from a Supreme Court ruling or federal law, but from people in Florida who showed up, spoke out, and refused to back down. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe. Transpositions Weekly is the first and only weekly trans news show in the universe, and we need your help to keep this show going. Contribute at patreon.com/TheTransPositions. Spread the word all over social media to let people know we're here. And tell us what stories matter to you by joining the community on Discord. Discord, of course, is where the memes live, and our meme of the week was posted by yours truly. And if you want to unlock your genetic presets, as well as open whole new skill trees leading to far greater joy, join us. Also, If you have good news concerning trans people you'd like to see reported on, you can tell us about that in the Discord as well. For the TransPositions, I've been Ember Belrad.
People always ask, oh my god, how can I be an ally to transgender people? And the solution is to be like a good person. Like, that's all that you need to do, is to be a good, kind-hearted person. You've automatically become a good ally. For instance, when I first started transitioning, I didn't look anything like the way I do now. I looked like a boy, and I had a boy's name, but I was using girl pronouns, and I just told my friends, and I was really scared. And then my best friend and later roommate, Karen, was like, hey, Lila, come over for girls' night tonight. We're drinking wine and hanging out. And I was like, yeah, but it's like girls' night. And she's like, yeah, and I'm inviting you to girls' night, so come over to girls' night. And then I went to girls' night, and her boyfriend walked in through the door, and Karen was like, get out, Ricky! It's girls' night! And then Ricky was like, okay, I'm sorry. And she's like, it's girls' night! Get out, it's girls' night! And then I proceeded to have fun at girls' night. You wanna know why? Because Karen and her friends are kind-hearted people. And the only allyship that you need is good, kind-hearted people who are willing to stand up for you when the going gets tough. And the going gets real tough when you're transgender. So having people who are willing to advocate for you like that, or even just willing to spend time with you in the context of you being a woman, is so incredibly important. Be like Karen. Be like my beautiful friend Karen.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to pop over real quick just to say, meet Henry. This is Henry. This is Ben's dog that I'm dog sitting until he gets back from Indiana. And he's a cutie, and I thought that everybody would want to see him. All right. He's been under my chair sleeping, and he woke up. So, yeah. Anyway, got a puppers for you. All right, and now we're going to move right into sports. So, yeah, here we go.
So maybe I'll start a little bit softer. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Dad?
Before you say anything, I just want to apologize for what I said this morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking. If you want to change your name, if you want to wear a dress.
It's a skirt, Dad.
Skirt. I don't know the kind of support you need, but let's get you some for all this transgender stuff.
Wait. Are you serious? Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is me supporting you. This is me saying I love you. This is me not losing you.
love you, Dad.
Love you. Holly.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
A Colorado City tells transgender student athletes they've been cut from the team. We'll give you the details. Grassroots football in the UK is on the march against the FA's trans ban.
I'm going to make it very simple for you, Dan. Men should not play sports against women. I'm not going to get into all the that's going on out here in the world today.
Dang, Chuck, thought you were an ally. What Charles Barkley said and what it means in the bigger picture. And you can find trans joy anywhere, even in the stiff arm. Hello again, everybody. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb. At the top this week, Colorado Springs School District 49 is yet another place where the bans keep coming. The first school district in the state of Colorado to ban transgender students from playing on sports teams that align with their gender identity, bucking state policy, aligning with the executive order from President Trump back on February 5th. Board members adopted the policy called Protecting Fairness and Safety in Sports last Thursday on a 3-2 vote. Also, the school district announced that they were going to be putting forth a preemptive lawsuit against the state of Colorado, Colorado's Department of Education, and Colorado's High School Activities Association, saying that the current transgender policy violates student constitutional rights. Across the Atlantic, grassroots football clubs in the UK are speaking out about the ban by the Football Associations of England and Scotland, along with the most recent ban by the English Cricket Board, who announced their ban over the weekend. Also this weekend, supporters of Gold Diggers FC, an innovative, inclusive club, held a protest march from their training grounds to the FA's offices at Wembley Stadium in London. The 12-mile march also helped raise funds to help grassroots clubs stay inclusive. Now, among those who were at the march, Abigail Snowden was there, Paula Griffin was there. As you remember, the two transgender women who are registered players in the FA, or were until this ban came into effect. They've been on Transposition Sports here in recent weeks. Here's a little tidbit of what they've had to say recently.
It's very much mixed feelings, because you're feeling, as a trans player, out trans player, high profile, I suppose, that you're constantly under attack by people who don't actually care for women's football. You know, we've got right-wing commentators, cis-male right-wing commentators, who are constantly attacking us, but they're not standing up for the things that really matter in men's football. You know, the racism, the misogyny, the lack of finances, the lack of representation. And these are the things that really matter in men's football. Yeah, there are very few trans women actually play in FA affiliated football. Yet we're being vilified as an excuse. But I suppose because people, they want to create this, weaponize our very existence.
I've had some very positive meetings with the FA. I've spoken to their representative and had a lot of things explained. And we're talking a couple of weeks ago before the Supreme Court ruling and the EHRC guidelines came out. I was very hopeful based upon that interview and that time I spent with their representative. And we received an email last week saying that, in light of the EHRC guidelines, they were reviewing things. And for them to have come out 2 weeks ago to say, yes, everything was fine, and then now be reviewing things, that was very worrying to me. That's a very poignant sign. I've heard since that they are still saying verbally to players, at least, nothing's changing as far as we are aware. But again, this EHRC guidelines with regard to sports hasn't actually come out yet. And with the Scottish FA taking a preemptive move, I feel like it's only a matter of time.
The good thing is both have been supported by their clubs, and a number of clubs have spoken out across Britain, over 70. 14 supporters groups in the NWSL here in the United States have also condemned the FA's ban. The head of Football versus Transphobia, Natalie Washington, had this to say on the day the ban was announced.
Yeah, I mean, Rob's just said it. It's upsetting, right? There is I feel disappointed. I'm upset. Football's been a big part of my life for, well, I mean, the team I'm currently playing for 10 years, right? So I get a lot of my access to kind of feeling part of the community, feeling connected to my local kind of society. I've got friends who play for the team that I currently play for, and that's been taken away, very, very quickly. And we've known about this now for what, 2 hours, right? So it's still sinking in. I'm of an age where stopping playing football is something that was on my mind and my horizon anyway. But I feel particularly for younger trans women who are now not going to get the access to those sort of, obviously the physical benefits, but the social and the well-being benefits of being involved in a football club and being able to kind of get on the pitch and play football. That's not something that's not going to be accessible to not just the 20 or so trans women that the FA are saying are currently playing, but anyone else who wants to get involved. And the growth of the game recently has been powered by that really inclusive environment at the grassroots level, which it feels like it's changing fundamentally.
One of the younger players also put her feelings out on social media in the last couple of days. Her name, Emily Waldron, 16. She's in college, and she loves football. Here's something she had to say, and I want you to listen to it very carefully. It's hard to be heard when you're just a kid. Almost impossible when you're a trans kid, but a trans kid in football being heard, not a chance. Right now, I'm clearly invisible. I'm the youngest trans woman registered to play open age football in a women's team in England, and the FA still hasn't had the decency to email me to tell me that I can't play anymore. It's like I don't count or don't matter because I'm a kid. I'm sick of being ignored and treated like I don't matter. I am not invisible. I've lived over half my life as me, and I know who I am. I've always been proud of who I am. What more do I have to do to be counted, to be seen and heard? I'm about to lose one of the most important things in my life, something that defines me, and I'm not even worth notifying. I have been through a lot as a trans kid, lost a lot, but the pain I feel right now is on a level I've never felt. This loss is one too many and way too hard to bear. Yet, am I acknowledged? I don't think so. Understand, the FA did what every other governing body wants to do. Cave into political pressure and cisgender discomfort. But it's a deeper wound in the UK, a country where a dedicated group of anti-trans activists and bigots, many of them American-backed and American-financed, captured the media and the body politic. But much respect to the growing people power we're seeing. The grassroots clubs, sports clubs, and advocacy organizations are fighting back. That's something we need to see here in the United States.
No, well, but can I both believe that everything you said is true and also believe that she has an enormous physical advantage because she was born as a man?
Well, first off, let's get that born as a man stuff out of the way. She's a woman. Trans women are women, and I know that you're trying to say man, 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 because that's the playbook, no. Dan. The first part of the playbook is say that transgender women aren't women and cisgender women stink at sports. That's what the playbook is. Well, we're not buying that playbook tonight, Dan. We're not running that. Run that playbook
I've referred to her
else.
as a woman.
That was me back in 2022 on News Nation, 1 week after Leah Thomas won her NCAA championship. And the demonization of Miss Thomas since that day, even with her graduating from college and being in law school, continues. The common denominator through all of this is it starts at the top, and it starts at some of the highest levels of our media and our politics with rhetoric like this.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy.
Literally what
Ms. Goss-Graves, do women have penises?
So again, I believe that women.
Democrats have gone so crazy. Women can have penises. That's not a thing. That's not biology. It's not science. And you sound like a lunatic.
And the women.
Should young girls just get used to penises in their locker rooms?
NCAA forced female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas, a 6'4", 22-year-old male who was fully intact with male genitalia.
I love gay people. I love transgender people. I'm against any form of discrimination, period. Because you can't say, like, if you are against, I love my gay friends and I love my transgender friends, but I'm not going to get into all this stuff going around. Men should not play sports against women. If anybody think that, I think they're stupid.
The NBA legend Charles Barkley, Sir Charles, he did say that. Now, some tried to sugarcoat it, but the fact is, the person who's made a number of supportive statements towards LGBTQ people in the past, although I think those statements kind of lean performative, said that trans women are men. Yes, Chuck said it. And I'll say it. Charles Barkley is a transphobe. But there's a bigger issue here than just a guy who tends to be demonstrative and performative and sometimes full of hot air. And there's that word, man. Man, man, man. You hear it everywhere. If transgender women in sports or in life in general aren't being called males, they're being called biological males or whatever nonsense is going out there. You heard it, you've seen it at all levels. What was the executive order called? Keeping men out of women's sports, even though there are no men in women's sports, but there are men who ruin women's sports, usually the men who run governing bodies and the men who run media outlets around the world, and of course the men who molest athletes, and of course, in many cases, the men that some of you vote for to take your rights away. Yeah, those men. Oh, by the way, they're all cisgender. Just saying. But there's that word, men. Even though there's no men playing on these teams. But that leads to another issue. Even allies are loath to say, and I don't mean so-called allies like Charles Barkley. I mean people that actually believe themselves to be allies. Be they in politics, be it in the media, be it on the streets, be it even in LGBTQ organizations. Many of you are adverse to say trans women and trans girls. Oh, you'll say words like trans athletes in women's sports. You'll say that. But we need to stop saying that when we know we're talking about trans women and trans girls. Especially when we're talking about the school level. I mean, after all, we have a sitting governor in this country who openly referred to a young trans girl at the time in middle school as, well, Patrick Morrisey, governor of West Virginia, Republican. You know what you said, and we know what you said. Roll the tape. She's even got a Republican candidate for governor in West Virginia to say the following about a 13-year-old trans girl in West Virginia.
Young people. This came up in Bridgeport recently, that someone is doing a shot put. I praised the little girls who walked off and didn't compete because they have to face a male. You don't want little girls to be facing hulking males in the locker rooms.
You see, adultification isn't just for black and brown children. It also happens to trans youth, no matter what skin tone they wear, and many politicians do it. Many of the gender criticals live on it, and the anti-trans advocates, hell, they raise money off of it. Where else do you equate high school kids as adults or middle school kids as adults the way Governor Morrisey did it? And at least a few politicians in the landscape are going to do it over the next few weeks. You're going to be seeing a lot of people saying a lot of ugly things about somebody's child. Remember what happened in Oregon last year? That could happen again at Hayward Field, or in Washington State, or in California. Imagine being A.B. Hernandez right now. Now, A.B. Hernandez is a high school kid in California who long jumps pretty good, high jumps pretty good, and triple jumps pretty good. Good enough to be ranked top 10 in the country. Good enough to be on the short list of contenders for state championships in a few weeks. We'll see how it all falls out. We're still in the middle of the shakedown process in California.
but this kid has been the target of local, local and state politicians. They've been a target of the national media, and most recently, she got her name dropped by Charlie Kirk as California Governor Gavin Newsom was trying to curry favor with the right-wing anti-trans commentator.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
So
it's deeply unfair.
Would you speak out against this young man, A.B. Hernandez, who right now is going to win the state championship in the long jump? I can see you wrestling with it.
No, I'm not wrestling. I'm not wrestling with the fairness issue. I totally agree with you.
Now I know Gavin Newsom's going to do anything to get elected in 2028, but you know what? There's another Californian who tried that. She tried in 2024, Kamala Harris. It didn't work out well for her. Hashtag just saying. But why Charlie Kirk name dropping this kid? Remember, this is the same Charlie Kirk who said that trans people should be lynched. And oh, before you say he didn't say that, he said that. I have the receipts. Roll it.
The NCAA is a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship and then was allowed in incredibly disturbing detail to be around you and your fellow competitors. And again, I blame the decline of American men. This never should have been, someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s.
This teenage girl who happens to be trans, but because she's pretty good in an event and happens to win, you call her a man. People have done it in the stands with this kid, and oh, we got receipts for that too. Roll the tape.
All right, here we go. That's a boy! That's a boy! That's a man!
And even the responsible media, not the right-wing press, because you know they're on some anti-trans nonsense, but the media like Sports Illustrated had headlines about how this kid dominated. She dominated at her conference meet, the River Valley League. And they talked about she won in 8 feet in the triple jump and 3 feet in the long jump, these outlandish, ridiculous margins of victory. Well, let's take a look at those in context. And to do it, we looked at where she's ranked in the country. Remember, A.B. Hernandez is number 10. But we also took the kid who's ranked 9th, Chelsea Williams. She's a kid out of Illinois who's also pretty good. She's jumping 41 feet and some change, just like Hernandez is. And we also looked at the kid who's ranked 11th. And that kid, turns out, is named Lane McKenzie. Now, Lane McKenzie goes to Cedar Crest High School in Washington State. Now, where have we heard that name before? Well, last year, in the state track meet in Class 2A girls competition, Cedar Crest was second in the team standings. They lost by 8 points. Linden was third. They lost by 11. Both are under the idea that they lost to the eventual champion, East Valley High School in Spokane, because of a certain girl named Veronica Garcia. Yeah, that Veronica Garcia. You know, the girl who is trans who won the 400 meters. Oh yeah, they're one of the schools that are trying to get the Veronica Garcia rule passed in Washington. Oh, we've been covering this for months here at TransPositions Sports. Remember Veronica Garcia, East Valley, Spokane, Washington, won the Class 2A state championship in the 400 meters, and she's now a rising senior who just happens to be a trans girl who can run pretty fast. Well, Cedar Crest and Linden High Schools were the catalyst behind an effort to try and get her banned because they felt because she won that one race, they lost the state championship last year. Now, when we look at all three of these participants, all three of these athletes, here's something we noticed. Yeah, we looked at the River Valley League meet in the triple jump, and yeah, Hernandez is pretty formidable. She won by almost 7 feet in her league. Now, we looked at Williams, who is also an athlete, and actually we looked at her state has district meets going right now. And actually she's in Florida, not Illinois. She has district meets going right now, and in her district meet in the triple jump, she won the triple jump by almost 8 feet. She's pretty good. And she's dominant compared to her competition. But why are we celebrating her and castigating Hernandez? And now let's look at Mackenzie. Now, Mackenzie hasn't had a meet of that type, a district meet or conference meet, but she had a performance where she PR'd at a meet, at an invitational, had 31 teams there. Chances are the competition's pretty good, right? She won by over 8 feet. A dominant performance. But again, we will celebrate her, but we'll castigate Hernandez. I'm pretty sure that Lane McKenzie or Chelsea Williams are not being castigated for winning by large margins. But A.B. Hernandez is called a man for winning by a large margin, and really winning by the same margin as her two cisgender counterparts. But that's what they do to train even decent people. This is all over social media. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. If you're a trans woman, they're going to find a way to call you a man. And it's ridiculous, hurtful, and harmful, whether you're a 16-year-old girl just trying to figure it all out, or a person in college who's had the opportunities that the rules gave you the right to pursue an opportunity, and it's taken away from you because of cisgender people's discomfort. You don't think Sadie Schreiner hasn't gotten this stuff for the last 2 years? She's still getting the flack, and she's not even competing anymore thanks to the NCAA ban. I ran across this on her Instagram page with this person consistently saying, he this, he that, he, him, and that begins with politicians who do it, people in media who do it, and people with bylines and with Chiron under their name on TV who do it. And even with people who claim to be well-meaning and say, I support the trans community. Well, wait a minute, what the hell does that even mean to you? To me, it's a throwaway line. And I'll admit it. To me, that whole idea of, I support the trans community. Yeah, a lot of people say the euphemism. But what about the people behind the euphemism? I'm one of the people behind the euphemism, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm side-eyeing more and more people these days because of what we just went through. A.B. Hernandez does not deserve your scorn, does not deserve your derision, does not deserve to be misgendered, and sure as hell, if she gets the state, doesn't deserve your boos. 3 things to understand. Number 1, transgender women are women. Transgender girls are girls. 2, when there's a trans woman on a woman's team or a trans girl on a girl's team, there are no boys on that team. And number 3, booing anyone at a sports event is bad form, but booing a high school kid or a middle school kid, that's cruel, it's mean, and it's childish. Now, before we go tonight, can we get a little trans joy alert? Oh, yes, we can. And this week, big ups for England's former rugby international Sasha Atchison. Now, she's always been a person who really believes in rugby for everybody. I've had a chance to meet her, had a chance to interview her. She's awesome. And she's at the head of a pretty good idea. You see, she got some of her former colleagues in international rugby together, got a group of trans women who played the game together and said, hey, let's have a game. And they're going to have it. It's called the Ruck U match. And it will be in Oslo, Norway on June the 1st. I'm looking forward to this match. I can't wait to see it. Sasha, you've always been a good egg, and you're showing it here once again. Hey, get that match streamed, because I want to watch it. And who knows, if you do it twice, I'll get myself in a little bit of rugby shape and maybe even play in it. And I want to give a shout out to someone who's a friend of the show and was on the show back on March 13th. Remember Janessa Bingham, running back linebacker for the Nevada Storm? She was here to talk about being trans in football and the WFA's restriction on trans women in their sport. Well, she hit the field this past weekend against the Capitol Pioneers out west, and check this one, a jet sweep. Whoa, look at her cuts inside. No, wait, I'm kind of in the traffic, but then the way out of the traffic, switch that ball, good fundamentals, and then, the stiff arm. Oh, God. Can we run that back? Let's run that. Let's run that back again, Maestro, in slow motion. That was like Bullwinkle pulling that rabbit out of the hat. Nothing up the sleeve. Presto! Oh, that was impressive. He was brought down at the 2-yard line after something like a 40-yard game. Didn't get the touchdown, but it led to a touchdown. But also, she threw blocks that sprung 2 of her teammates. So, pretty efficient, great day, and a play of the week for Janessa Bingham. A little bit of trans joy to end it up this week. For Transposition Sports, I'm Carly Chardonnay-Webb.
Right, are you with me, friends?
Okay.
All right.
I've
Thank
got
you
to
so
head out
much
real
for.
quick, but it's been great tonight. I'll see you guys next
Yeah,
week.
it's been fun.
Love
Yeah.
ya.
It's been fun.
Love you, Carly. Yeah.
Love you,
We're probably
Carly.
gonna
Thanks
wrap
so
here.
much thanks so much for the segment, and you know
Yeah.
that was awesome.
All right. Well, shorter episode tonight, but I guess that kind of makes up for it being super long last week.
And
we
I
got
think
you into-
that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think we really need to thank all the people who keep coming by here.
Yeah, thank you guys for turning up. Love you all so much. Cannot wait to get this monetized so that we can send you guys proper love and give you little icons and stuff you can play with. We're getting really close. It's the watch hours that are getting us, but
Yeah.
we only do the
well,
one show a week, and sometimes I'll do cuts of it, and sometimes I don't because I don't have time. I also run my own show, so
we're all really busy, and
yeah,
to
and
be
then work a
honest,
full time
I mean,
job.
Yeah,
And
there's stuff going on, but
yeah,
boy, we really appreciate the people that do come by here, and you know, we're it's not it. What we do is not necessarily for everybody's taste, and to be honest, to be absolutely brutally honest, I don't know how much longer I can do it. And I'm not sure I'm not sure how at risk I am for doing it. You know, being visible as a trans person in the United States of America in 2025 at the moment means that you are a potential target for a fascist regime. I'm going to get political. All of this bullshit, all of this stuff is political. It is directed at us, people like me. And Bree, and Carly, and all of the people you see here on the transpositions. This is political. This is not of our doing. This is political. We didn't ask for this. Those of you who are watching this show right now, we appreciate your doing that, but you've got to do something else. You have got to do something else. You have got to ask other people to realize that what we're telling you about our lives, when we report the news to us, that the thing that motivates us to be here is to say, this is garbage. What's happening to our community, to what's happening to us as people, right here and now, is really fucking bad. And you really ought to fucking do something about it as much as you can do. I know I know I am being a little over the top here. But you need to understand, when humans are being deported to camps in El Salvador, you need to understand, when humans are being denied medical care in Texas, maybe you should get a fucking clue that there's no time like the present to object. However you can.
I'm not smiling about what you're saying here. I'm smiling because they put Stefan in the side chat and posted your links, right? Like which goes perfectly with what's happening. You're definitely Stefan right now. Steph away.
I am Stefan, and I'm telling you right now that no matter what I do to be an ordinary human being, no matter whether I meet with people and share drinks and have a good conversation and talk about running races on Casco Bay, which I'm glad to do, and which I am absolutely qualified to do, and what they want me to do, even though I'm a goddamn motherfucking tranny and a goddamn blah, blah, blah. People in my real life ask me to do these things for them, right? In my real life, I actually have to ask those people to do things that allow me to do those things for them, right? Like not vote for people who want to send me to camps in El Salvador. I hear from those people. They talk back to me. They tell me, we have your back. They don't. I try to tell them, the people in my real life, not people on the fucking internet, people in my real life, I try to tell them, you need to do something so that I'm here for you tomorrow. I guess what I'm asking for everyone who's watching this thing, or everyone who will watch this thing, is to consider what you're doing in your real lives to help people survive. I mean, I'm a tough old bitch. People have called me, old and tired, and old, lonely, and should die alone. Guess what? Nobody should be so old, so lonely to die alone. No one should be, and no one should have the fucking temerity to tell someone that they should be. No one should. We should care for one another. We should care for one another as if we fucking mean it. And not just give lip service to it. That's what I've got to say. And that's what I do in my real life. What I do in my real life is ask people to be sincere. And not fuck around. And I find so much fuck arounding here in media.
All right. You think we should wrap it up, Steph?
Think we should.
All right. Time to hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. Good night, everybody. Sorry for being so fucking serious, but I'm goddamn glad to see you.
Love you, Steph. And we love you, everybody out there watching. We appreciate you. It wasn't it wasn't. There's always gonna be grim topics, so just stick with us as we try to cover things and keep up with what's going on. We love you very much, and yeah, everyone watching, spread the word. We're out here keeping track of the news here.